Okay, so today we're going to cover some proportionality, specifically when something's directly proportional or inversely. Okay, what does that mean? Well, if something is directly proportional, so like this, it means that as one variable increases, the other variable also increases. For example, if we have x and y, it's saying that as x is increasing, for example, y is going to increase. Or as x decreases, y decreases. An example is just a straight line, for example, because as x increases, y increases, right? Okay. Then there is one that's called inversely. So, inversely is just the opposite way around. As one variable increases, the other variable will decrease. For example, if again we have x and y, it's saying that as x increases, y will decrease, or the other way around. We end up with possibly something like this. Let's try a couple kind of problems and see where this is coming from. If we say that y is directly proportional to x, so y is directly proportional to x, how can we kind of create a formula? Well, what we might have to do is firstly figure out, is it directly or inversely? Now, it says in the question it's directly. What that means is as y increases, x will increase. So we do this sort of symbol. However, we don't know the steepness, right? If we go back to this, we don't know how steep this curve is or how shallow. That's, to figure this out, what we have to do is change this sign to an equal sign and add a constant here. And this constant we can figure out depending on what coordinates we're given as to how steep it is. For example, let's say we're given the coordinate of 1, 2 is, part of this equation. It means that x is 1, y is 2. So we sub those in, we end up with 2. 2 is equal to k times 1. 1 times k is just k. So we get that 2 is equal to k. So the final equation is going to be y is 2x. Okay. What about inversely proportional? Let's say that y and x are inversely proportional. Well, in this case, what you do is that you do this symbol and you do 1 over x. Why? Well, because if x is increasing, for example, so the denominator is increasing, let's try this out. So if you have, for example, 1 over 2, that's a half. If you make it 1 over 3, that's a third. If you make it 1 over 4, that's a quarter, right? A half is about 0.5. This is about 0.3. This is about 0.25. So the value is decreasing, right? And that's what's happening here. It's saying that as x is increasing, y is decreasing, or the other way around. And again, we want to find out exactly kind of to what extent. So we need a constant. So we make y is equal to k over x. And again, we want to find what k is. Same thing as before. Let's say the coordinate is maybe, let's say it's 2, 1 this time. So we sub them in. We get 1 is equal to k over 2. Now, again, our operator rules. Let's write these out. 2 is dividing the k, so we want to get rid of the 2, so we need to multiply by 2 on both sides. So we end up with 2 is equal to k, and that's it. Let's try maybe one slightly harder. Let's say that y is directly proportional to the square root of x. Okay, so x, we have y and x, to the square root of x. Okay, so it's going to be proportional. It's going to be y is proportional to x in some extent, to some extent, but it's to the square root. So what we do is we add a square root here, and the rest is the same. We do y is equal to k root x. We might be given a coordinate, let's say 4, 2. Okay, we sub it in. We get 2 is equal to k square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2, so we end up with 2 is equal to k multiplied by 2. We want to get rid of this 2, so let's list the operators. The 2 is multiplying the k, so we want to do the opposite and divide by 2 on both sides. When we do that, we get 2 over 2 is equal to k, 2 over 2. These cancel, and also these cancel, so we end up with k is equal to 1. And so the final equation is going to be y is equal to just 1, so it's just square root of x, and that's it. Okay, hopefully this was helpful. We went through a couple of these examples. There are harder ones, and so I'll do an exam style one in the next video. As always, comment what kind of questions you want next. And yeah, till next time.